How you doing? My name is Cody Dupree. I bring it to you the book. This book right here is a great book. It's a great book. It's called the Historical Jesus and the Mythical Christ. Amazing book. I bought it for $15. I got it from Fulton and Bond. A brilliant book, amazing book. Written by Gerald Massey. And here we go. We start with the Virgin and a Child. The Virgin and a Child. The Christ or Horus was born as child of the mother alone, called the Virgin. She who came from herself and whose peplum had never been lifted by any male, meaning her extremities never been touched by any male, making her a virgin. Her child was the unbegotten or the self-begotten one. The Virgin Mother was called by coarser names in the later language. She was the harlot and the whore. Now Jesus is not only born of the Virgin Mary as the fatherless, the Mamza of the Hebrews, but his descent on the maternal side is traced in accordance with this origin of the mythical Christ. The four female ancestors of Jesus who are enumerated in the genealogies of Matthew are not only non-Hebrews, they are all four forms of the harlot. Dharma played the whore with Judah to become the first female ancestor of Jesus, or the Lion of Judah. Rahab of Jericho is frankly designated the harlot, and she is second female ancestor Ruth, the Moabites, whose history is so tenderly told, is the third. The fourth is Bathsheba, wife of Uriah the Hittite, the prostitute of David. The history does not show that illicit human intercourse was the natural mode of the divine descent, nor does its simply unparalleled prolificacy. It only proves the mythos. By this means, the true character assigned to the most ancient genetrix was preserved and continued according to the code in which the Chrononian Messiah had been brought to birth, independently of their human fatherhood. Judah was the lion god, Pharez was one of the twins, and David was the lunar Hercules. The genealogies of the youthful sun god were not human but divine. And this line of descent from the harlot on the female side demonstrates the divinity of Jesus the Christ as the child of the ever-virgin mother who had a fourfold representation in heaven as goddess of the seven stars, goddess of the moon, goddess of the sun, and goddess of the planet Venus. This character of the divine and eternal child of the mythos, he who begot himself as the representative of lunar or solar phenomena, is very plainly betrayed in the statement of Jesus, who was made to tell the Jews, "Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it and was glad." In this he caps with the further statement that he existed before Abraham was born. Before Abraham was born, Greek I am. Here it is immaterial whether Abraham be considered mythical or human. He was expressly the father to the Jews. This is talking about Abraham. And the sonship in the mythology, as it was in nature and sociology, is prior to the institution of the individualized fatherhood. The Christ as a divine son claims to have existed before the typical father of the Jews was born. This the Gnostics will explain. They tell us in a passage previously quoted that it was the work of Monogenes or Nous, who alone was in communion with the Father. Hold up. To reveal the nature of the fatherhood and sonship to the rest of the aeons that was within the pleroma In the Gospels, this has been transferred to mundane ground, where the auditors of the monasteries are Jews. Now, whether Abraham be considered as the father God in the allegory of the two covenants, as Paul implies, or the typical progenitor of the Jews, he was the supreme father in Israel. And it is quoted as such. Abraham saw the fatherhood established in the second covenant, which was sealed by circumcision, and consequently the sonship assigned to the fatherhood in place of the earlier motherhood, but the sonship was prior to the fatherhood. The son of the virgin mother of feminine, Holy Ghost, was before Abraham. And here the instructor of the aeons in these mysteries claims to be that pre-paternal son, the aperture of the Gnostics. The son who preceded the father is like the virgin mother, an institution solely mythical. Primitive sociology had deposited the types, but the types could never more be humanized. The Osiris is portrayed as the son of light overcoming all the powers of darkness. His actions are the actions of the sun in heaven. That's deep. His actions, that's powerful. His actions are the actions of the sun in heaven. That's Osiris they talk about. You know, the black god from Egypt. That's powerful, bro. And the actions of his oppressors are those of the dwellings in hell, meaning he was a regular human being, you know? That's powerful. That's powerful. Almost brought a tear to my eye. The Aphosis, the viper of soot, I think that's Apep they talking about. Or either the crocodile, one of them, bro. One of the little crocodile with the human body, not Sobek. You gotta study that yourself. But it's this word right here. Apophis, the viper of soot, the red-haired monster, the strangling snakes, the Lord of Gore, the devourers of the dead, the worm that never dies, the eater of millions, the demon dog, and the devils in general, devils, bro. That's powerful, so you gotta study that yourself, okay? I'm just reading from the book. This character is likewise assigned to the Christ, in consequence of which the Jews become the devils. You see? Because it go back. I guess they dating it back to like Jordan and Judah, you know, and things like that. So you gotta check it out yourself, God. Alright? Assigned to the Christ, a consequence of which the Jews become the devils, vipers, and other Typhonian types. Ye offspring of vipers, he calls them. He tells them, ye are of your father, the devil, who was a murderer from the beginning. Ye are from beneath. I am from above. He was Horus. They derived from soot. And Christians marvel that these victims of an allegory should remain a people apart. That's right. That's right. The woman with the issue of blood. The Gnostics identified the Christ of the Gospels with their own horrors in the act of teaching the mystery that occurred among the 12 aeons with the pleroma out of which the mother Achamoth or Sophia Pistis, the Gospels, Gnostics, you know, Gospel of Thomas, Paul, you know, Yardabaoth and things like that, you know, wandered with an aliment or issue of blood until the Christ above took pity on her forlorn condition, and by extending himself beyond the boundary fence of the pleroma, he sought her out and gave form the masculine imprint to her amorphous substance. They explained the wandering sheep to mean their mother, by whom they represent the church as having been sown. This poor lost mother, they said, was the sheep that had gone astray. In the parable of the lost sheep, the main mission of the Christ, according to Matthew, is that of the Gnostic Horus. He also had extended himself beyond the pleroma as Storos to save that which was lost according to the mythos. He comes solely to save the lost sheep of the house of Israel, saying, I was not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. The house of Israel on earth or in heaven is a type of the 12, equivalent to the 12 aeons. I guess it's cosmology or astrology, or dimensions, or what you call that, yo? Yeah, man, dynasties, yeah. The 12th of which was the stray, wandering, and lost one, whom Horus came to recover. When Sophia had been restored by the Christ, the pleroma of the 12 aeons was complete. And it happens that on the spot, immediately after restoring the daughter of Jairus, Jesus called the 12 together and gave them power and authority over all devils and to cure diseases. And he sent them forth. I'm going to keep going, all right? This is from the book, The Historical Jesus and Mythical Christ. This is a powerful book. You see it got the metal netta, you know. Oh, that could be from the Benben stone, you know. It could be metal netta because it's dealing with Egypt and Judah and things like that. But you get the Benben stone in Egypt, right? And the Benben stone from the Elohim, Ben Elohim. Because when you check out the I forgot what it's called, man. I know it ain't the Tanakh, the Torah, or the Septuagint, or the Bible. But it's a Bible I had, one of these Bibles, and they talk about Ben Elohim. You know, they supposed to be angels or cherubims or fire, you know, water, you know, air, darkness. It's powerful, it's deep, yo. It's cool. Check it out. Check me out. My name Courtney Dupree, you know. You can check my video out, Nails Low, I Wonder Why, on YouTube. Check that out. You ready? Let's go. Mary Magdalene and her 7 devils. According to Irenaeus, Simon Magus, the Samaritan, who declared that he impersonated the power of God, was in the habit of carrying about with him a certain woman named Helena, whom he was said to have redeemed from slavery in Tyre. This Helena proclaimed to have been the mother of all. She descended into the lower regions of space, or had the fabled fall, and could not return upwards. She passed from one female form to another and suffered contumely and assault in each, until at least she became a common prostitute. This was the great mother who had several characters, beginning as the virgin and ending as the harlot. Simon, as representative of the male divinity, professed to have come into the world to seek and save her. But this was also the role of the Christ. And the great mother whom he does redeem is Mary Magdalene, out of whom he cast 7 devils. I don't know. What I think that was like cosmology and astrology. But you check that out for yourself. I'm just giving you some information from the book, okay? If you ain't got the book, or, you know, check it out yourself, man. All right. And who accompanied a companion with him as Helena did with Simon. Irenaeus also showed the Gnostics claimed the woman suffered from an issue of blood to be their own Sophia, who was healed by Horus the Christ. They related that Sophia had made an impractice that was amorphous and imbecile, such as her female nature was capable of producing. That is, the flesh-making substance which needed the male to impress and imprint it with the form. She was flowing away, flowing into immensity and in danger of perishing. When the Christ dwelling on high took pity on her, and having extended himself through and beyond Storos, the boundary fence of the pleroma, he imparted a figure to her, but merely as respected substance, and not as to convey intelligence. By Horus, she was purified and established. This woman with the issue of blood, they said, was their 12th aeon, and this number was represented by the 12 years. They also pointed out that the boundary fence of Storos was the hem of the garment worn by Horus the Christ, meaning, priests in Israel wear garments too, and hymns. In the apocryphal Gospels, hold on, God. The woman who had, keep going. The woman who had the issue of blood is identified as Veronica, she who received the likeness of the Lord pictured on a napkin or handkerchief, which is still on view in Rome. Veronica indicates the true likeness, but the Gnostics, who were the authors of the Christian icons, knew better. The Christ imparted a figure to her, but not a living likeness. And this corpse-like portrait has been preserved by the Italian and Spanish painters. It was further affirmed by the Gnostics that the daughter of Jairus, who Jesus raised from the dead, when she was about 12 years of age, was likewise a form of the same 12th aeon who was restored by Horus the Christ. It is remarkable that Jesus, being on his way to raise the one from the dead, performs the miracle of healing on the other. The Gnostics explain the miracle of the man who had been born blind and whose sight was restored by Christ as being the mystery of the aeon, who was produced by the Monages as the sightless creature of a soulless creator. Who else went blind? Moses went blind. Irenaeus continued with his usual ghastly hilarity over the world that was born blind. Yet the Gnostics' mystery continued the Khamite myth of the double Horus, one of whom was the blind Horus, whom says in the blindness, I come to search for my eyes, and whose sight is restored by the second Horus, the light of the world. The mystery of Christ in the church of which Paul says, this mystery is great, is identical with that of the Gnostics Anthropos, the Son of Man, and Ecclesia, who produced 12 aeons, the first of which was the Paracletus, the advocate, the comforter, the same who Christ promised that the Father would send the disciples in his name. The Gnostics professed to be the men who knew, and the mythos and topology, now recovered, vouched for their knowledge of the mysteries that lurk beneath the parables. Events and teachings that have been gathered up in the Gospels, and at the same time show that those who collected them for reissue in the historic narrative